Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
Welcome back to the show. We are joined by our good friend Randy Swaim, our amazing coach. Coaching for Relevance is the name of his company, and he's helping those bring freedom to potential. And Randy isn't just a normal, everyday coach. No, Randy's got a lot of accolades, and he's not, he doesn't brag. He's very humble. He's a Marshall Goldsmith certified executive coach, and of course, founder of his own company, Coaching for Relevance. And with his background in aviation, in the military, boy, oh boy, you are in for a treat. Also, an author, and soon to have his whole life story told there on the big screen. So, Randy comes with many accolades, many titles, many awards, but he's just a kind, humble man. And I know he's, with his PhD work too, he just keeps going and going and going. And he loves helping coaching and helping people out there really learn what it's like to lead and to be with a team and work with a team. So we commend you on that and want to welcome you back.
Well, thank you. It's always a pleasure to be here, my friend, with you, and so yeah, it's always great. So
Thank
yeah,
you so
thank you.
much. All right. Well, please, what did you want to talk about today? A little bit of your background for those new timers and what else?
Well, basically everything you said was part of my background, but also one thing that I'm a certified master level neuroplastician with the Institute for Organizational Neuroscience over in Germany. So I'm aware of how the brain works and how we have to be aware of certain things and things of that nature. So it's good. And like you said, I'm amazed at the Hollywood movie documentary that's about to come out soon. It's going to be uh, it's going to be made available to the public December 14th, and so uh, just humbled out there, and so yeah, just
Aw,
love what's happening.
beautiful. Well, please, for today, what did you have in mind for everyone?
What
What are we focusing on?
what I would focus on, what I'm going to focus on today is a couple of different aspects. What I'm going to do is start out with a quote that I actually posted on my social media this morning. It was a quote from somebody that most people know the name and everything, but I'll give you the quote here in a second. But then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the reality of that because it's a key aspect about leadership. But I'm also going to take the reality of that to a deeper level and a deeper aspect for people to think about and different ways where it applies in ways that a lot of people don't when they're just thinking superficially and such. So that's what I'll do when we get going. So
Well,
you
let's
ready?
get going. I'm ready. Go for it.
Okay, sounds good. Well, I tell you what I will tell you is that this quote actually, and I'm going to kind of share aspects about application of it and things of that nature. But this quote comes from somebody that I think most everybody knows the name, Ken Blanchard, and it's a very good quote that
Aw.
there, and I posted it on my social media because it's very aligned with my whole organizational maneuverability concept and coaching and leadership and all of that. But the quote was simply this. It said, leadership is not something you do to people.
Aw.
It is something you do with people. And it's kind of amazing on that because if you look at some managers of stuff, they may not have a full understanding of that. And a lot of people in societies today have a tendency to think that my goal of leadership is to tell people what to do and just get them to do this and and all that kind of stuff. And you got to understand that is not true leadership. And one of the things that you see, I've actually seen a couple of managers, well not managers, by the way, I will say this, the manager that I work for over at the airport,
Mm-hmm.
totally positive. I'm glad to be working for them and everything. So nobody should draw an assumption there between that or whatever. But uh, but I have seen some managers that they'll walk up, and most of the people that hear this may hear that, may have seen some of this also. But a lot of times managers, you'll see they walk up and they try to get their people to laugh.
Yeah.
and tell a joke or something like that. Now, that can be good if they're doing it right and they're doing it for the right reason. But a lot
Mm-hmm.
of people, and you have to be aware of this in terms of the processing and the understanding in the brain, a lot of people do that um, in such a way that they're trying to get you to just remove anything that makes you you know frustrated with me, kind of thing. It to take your mental processing and put it aside and stuff like that. And that's what a manager or a leader would not do. Again, that's trying to do to people, not with people. But you got to realize that a key part of really that making it something that you do with people is in connecting with your team, connecting with your customers, connecting with different people you're working with, connecting with, colleagues that are at your same level in a slightly different area and things like that. And doing it in such a way that we all feel true synergy. We all feel this real oneness where I don't think you're trying to get me to shut my brain off and just regurgitate your stuff or, you know, kind of, you know, capitulate to what you're doing. If you do that, you're not truly being a leader. You're being sort of a narcissistic manager. And the bottom line is one of the things that true leaders have to be aware of is that when I need to connect with my team, it's not just about me telling them what to do. A lot of times, guess what? Having the conversation where I can ask the right questions and they come up with the right answers for the team
Mm-hmm.
is very different, and that is actual true leadership. And you think about it, that's something that a lot of people don't even consider or think about. And
Mm-hmm.
you got to kind of realize that when you're talking about this aspect of what leadership really is, it's not something you're doing to people, it's something that you're
Yes.
doing with people. And this is a quote that Ken Blanchard put out. I think his name was on the thing that I shared and stuff. And but this is a key insight, and it's very aligned with my coaching aspect, with my vision, and with my organizational maneuverability, and also my awareness of neuroscience, kind of thing. Because there are sometimes, and in fact, when you think about it, if your only factor when you're dealing with your people and trying to lead your people, if you only are waiting until it's within 3 to 4 minutes where you've got to do this, and that's when you're waiting for it, you know what? You're focusing on this to do to people and dictating and control freaking and all of that kind of stuff. If you're talking about really building this with your team, sometimes that can take a few days prior to that where you're just exploring possibilities and factors maybe that somebody doesn't see yet and may come on scene. And what do we do, and having clarity on kind of how we're going to do that and everything. And it is a truly key aspect of when you're talking about this thing that Ken Blanchard said, that again, it's not something, when you talk about leadership, it's not something you do to people. It's not something where you point your fingers at them and just tell them what to do and they better do what I tell them. Now, in the heat of battle, in the midst of battle, depending on what industry you're in or whatever, guess what? You may have to do that some. But one of the ways that when you have to do that, the thing that makes your people willing to follow you are when prior to that, you have led with people and they have a lot of trust in you and what you're doing and how you're doing it. And that true trust isn't developed just because you're telling them what to do or pointing fingers or trying to control them or trying to play funny little things just to get them to throw their brain out, kind of thing, and do what you want them to do and stuff. Those are aspects that sometimes people don't think about. So there's a much deeper meaning in this quote that Ken Blanchard had, and he has my compliments for putting it out there because it this aspect of uh, leadership being something you do with people is totally key. And one of the things that I also kind of uh, want to throw out, it's even a bigger aspect of that, is when you think of strategic vision of what you want with your company, with your organization. Most people think things like this. Most people think, well, okay, we want to get up to making this amount of money, or we want to have this number of clients. We want to have customers that come in this number every year or whatever, kind of thing. And we want to be the top ranked thing in this industry. We want to make more money than any of the other companies out there, kind of thing. All those are things that sometimes people can set up as objectives on that. But one of the things that I would throw out to people is simply this aspect that when you're talking about your strategic vision,
Mm-hmm.
something most people don't consider or don't think about is who do we want to become as a team that makes everybody else understand why we're going to that success, kind of thing. What is it that we need to become as a team? And it's not just about, if I'm a leader, it's not just about me telling you something that is, going with people, but it's making it something where the team experiences it so well
Yeah.
that they start doing it to each other,
Yeah.
to be with people and not just doing it to people. And that's an aspect when you talk about strategic vision and strategic, strategy for a company and where they're going over the next, say, 5 years or whatever. That's an aspect of it that a lot of people don't think about. And yet that is a key that if you want true success, guess what? Sometimes that true success can come out because your people are a lot different in a positive way. And what I would just throw out to sort of leaders and managers out there is the aspect of what do you need to envision differently, and what do you need to do differently to truly create this real aspect in your team and in your organization, so that dramatic results happen that you didn't even expect, because your people are seeing it and they're working together and they're gaining it
Yeah.
even when maybe you didn't think it would happen, kind of thing. And so this aspect, like I say, I just throw it out there just real quick, that this aspect that Ken Blanchard put out there, I shared it on my social media just to, you know, and it's a picture that shows his name on it and everything.
Yeah.
But it is so key to reality and what you're talking about. It's when you think about the strategic planning in your organization, so many people, and probably anybody that hears what I'm about to say has probably seen managers do this. But so often you'll have a situation where they have this vision of, this is what we want to achieve, this number of customers, this amount of money, or whatever kind of thing. Okay, that's cool. That can be a good, strategic goal. But one of the things that they don't do is have anything with their people, and it's a little bit of a struggle for getting there. And you know the bottom line is, if you develop the true synergy and the oneness and the togetherness
Mm-hmm.
with your people, not just pointing fingers at them, not just saying, hey, do it to them, no, but doing it with them and bringing yourself up as a team where you and your people are working differently. And in fact, interestingly enough, guess what? They may come up with solutions that nobody else expected because they're thinking differently and they have more trust in it. And who knows? The other part of it is, guess what? What is your company becoming when you think about this sort of strategic aspect of about it? And what is it going to, what do you need to do to make it so that other people that have a lot of credibility want to come in and be a part of your team. And that doesn't happen just because you're trying to bring all the accolades to yourself and all that kind of stuff. That happens because of what your team is becoming and the success that people can sense in it. And so it's really interesting. Like I say, I just sort of throw that out because it's very interesting when you think of this, this one quote that Ken Blanchard put out there. And he has my compliments for putting it out there because it is so aligned with what I do and how I do what I do over at the airport and all of this and other stuff and developing people and all that.
Mm-hmm.
And but leadership is not something you do to people. It's not where you're just dictating, telling them what to do, ordering them, or anything like that. It is something you do with people, where as you're working together, you're not just telling them to kind of completely shut their brain off and fit what you want it to look like, kind of thing. It's about what are you doing together where your team is real synergistic, and it's not just synergistic with your dictating, but it's synergistically together where your team can come up with amazing results and amazing solutions that maybe other people didn't think about. And quite frankly, probably you didn't think about it. And so it's just something to think about, that with this one aspect of leadership, this one quote that Ken put out there. Like I said, he has my compliments for putting it out there a while back. But it's like I say, leadership is not something you do to people. It isn't. It is something you do with people. It's about how you truly work together, how you're truly with each other as a team, and you're truly coming up with the radical solutions that nobody else ever even thought about. And guess what? Somebody who's thinking just rote academic things didn't think about.
Mm-hmm.
And so all of those are aspects that when you're talking about leading your team, particularly in a challenging environment, or if organizational maneuverability environment, this is aspects that many people today just literally just don't understand. And
Yeah.
so it's just it was a great quote that I saw, and I shared it again. I think I shared it maybe a year ago or something, but I shared it again this morning, just because it's a very valuable quote. And when you look at it from that aspect, for not just the superficial aspect, but the deeper,
Mm-hmm.
realistic vision, guess what? If you apply it right, amazing things can happen that you didn't expect. And if that's what you want with your organization, think
Uh,
about it. And this is a really good quote to just give somebody to think about that. Again, with Ken Blanchard, he has my compliments on that.
got it. Well, thank you for sharing that. And Randy, you always are dedicated to helping others. And I know you're going to just share a little bit more about, your thoughts on leadership and teams and helping people. Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say that when you're talking about your teams and leadership, again, if somebody is only thinking about leadership as a rote academic thing, they're not getting the job done. Because here's the thing: every member on your team is a little bit of a different person, and guess what? They may have different pictures in their mind,
Mm-hmm.
whatever, but are they bringing it together in a synergistic way? And is your team able to come up with solutions that, boy, you would have never imagined, and stuff like that. And this is just an aspect about that when you're talking about your team. And this is why leadership is something you do with people, not to people. It's not directing people. It's not just control freaking stuff and all that. There can be a little bit of an aspect of that depending on the factors that are involved. Obviously, obviously, if you have illegal stuff coming on, guess what? You need to make sure that everybody's going in a legal direction, kind of thing. So there are some stuff with that and everything. But the bottom line is, are you connecting with your people, your team members, in such a way that when you see them, they are honored to smile and say hi and all that kind of stuff because of the way that everything is interacting and how what they bring is received, and also how it might be modified by the team, but it goes to amazing results. And this is just something that is so key to understand. It's not just about an academic thing of dictating. It's not just about a thing of telling people what to do. It's not just about telling people the solution. You know, and one thing on this, I'll just share with you too, that if you're coming up with something that you want to have as a strategy for accomplishing something, and a team member comes up and says, well, I don't know, and they're not sure, kind of thing. Most people will just say, do this, do this, do this. That's to do with people. What I would do, and this is how I have interacted routinely. In fact, I shared one of my short video clips this morning that was about this a little bit. But the bottom line is, what I do is I ask them some questions, and I ask them some questions. I say, "What do you see? Perhaps what do you see is the problem of it?"
Yeah.
And if they come up with one or two things, what are you going to do with that if that happens? Oh,
Wow.
I don't know. Think about it. What are you going to do? Kind of thing, and all of that. But if you can interact with people in that way, where you're not just trying to control them or threaten them or anything like that, but you're letting them contribute, and you're letting them be a part, and you're letting them communicate and get a real sense of it. Those kind of things can make them feel like, you know what? Yeah, I want to be a part of this team for sure. And you know what? You're right, Randy. I couldn't come up with a real answer to that. And then you look at them and go, okay, well, you know what? I'll tell you what, let's move in this direction now that I told you. But if you see something happening that's a surprise to you a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
let me know and we'll talk about what we need to do. and
Wow.
and and things of that nature. And so when those are just a lot of sort of little images, if you will, of what it means, where it's not something you do to people, but it is truly something you do with people. And that is so key if you're wanting true success in your organization and in your team, but also if you want to truly develop leaders that can take the company even a step further. If the company expands and they need a couple of leaders to come into different areas, you may have one or two people that are on your team that would like to do that. And you know what? Have they been developed to do that? So all of those are aspects of um, what it means to be able to take your leadership and do it with people rather than just pointing fingers and doing to people. And that's a key aspect. So like I say, this little quote that Ken Blanchard put out there, he has my compliments because it's very aligned with so much of what I brought. Uh, uh, so yeah, it's key.
No,
And it's
you
key
are
for people to
key.
understand.
Well, you're awesome, awesome. In our last few minutes together, how did you want to kind of sum up for today?
Well, the big thing is, and one thing I will sum up for today is that when people think about this, it's a good quote for them to think about.
Okay.
Because guess what? When you have to shift your minding, your mindset, where it's not just you telling people or pointing fingers at people, you want to shift your mindset to doing it with people. You got to answer some questions for yourself. How are you going to do that? How are you going to do that successfully? What are you not aware of that you need to be aware of to do it well? And if you think about it, this is the neuroscience aspect about it. With the neuroscience, your brain has to get into the processing mode a little bit sometimes. And it's not just going with rote academic, the what ifs kind of stuff, but it's really being able to process and understand and get the real benefit on that for where your team is going. and what you're going to be able to accomplish and things of that nature. So it's just, you know, that aspect of processing is the neuroscience aspect of it. And your people need to be able to kind of do that somewhat, not just going with rote academic, as you probably are aware. I mean, you don't do this, by the way,
No, no.
but there's a lot of people out there that they think that their mind is just to come up with the rote academic answers. No, you don't want to do that.
Hmm.
In today's world, that's not what you want to do. Now, there are some factors that you got to bring to play and you got to be aware of. Yes, but to simply go with rote factors in your thinking, you're probably not getting the job done. But working together as a team where we have a real sense of where we want to go and achieve and how we're really going to get there and what do we need to be aware of as we're going there. And so when you think about the strategic vision of it, it's not just about where the company's going or whatever, but it's about who is your team truly becoming. And if all you're doing is trying to kind of make everybody just shut their brain off and become dependent on me, you're not getting the job done. And
Wow.
because leadership is deeper than that. And
Yep.
when you're talking about with people, it's about working with your people in such a way that all of that grows. And
Got
so
it.
just something to think about.
Well, thank you so much, Mr. Randy. How do I contact you, please?
Okay. Well, as you know from every show we've ever done, if people go to my website, coachingforrelevance.com, and go to the homepage, and if you go right down to the bottom of it, it has my cell
Uh,
phone on there.
Taking your picture. Yep.
Yep, and it
Wow.
has the email that you can email me to of Randy at coachingforrelevance.com. And so you can, and by the way, as I always tell people, uh, I don't necessarily get out there and sell a lot of stuff. If somebody just wants to have a conversation, we can have a conversation, and that's fine with me. Now, if they have a particular need, will we come up with something? Yeah, we'll come up with something. But
Wow.
if they just want to have a conversation, that's fine.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much, Randy. Always a pleasure having you. Enjoy the rest of your day, darling, and we will connect again next week. Happy fall. New
Oh,
season
I'll tell you what,
here.
happy fall. And let's see, it's always a pleasure being here with you, Jill. And I hope you have an
Thank
incredible week
you.
and weekend. Okay.
Thank
And
you
we'll see
so
you next
much.
time. Okay.
Absolutely. Same here, sweetheart. Bye-bye. Thank
Bye.
you.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.